This video provides an overview of our patent pending code generator, and in particular how it produces the grid filter code dynamically and how that code is utilized in the framework. Okay, I'm already logged in and I've filtered on the member non-authenticated. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at a page that allows us to cite videos that discuss snap feeds, so I'm not going to do that here. The other thing that would be appropriate is that before viewing this video, I have several videos that cover the different data grid components, and in particular the master detail component would be of value to review. There's also a very nice video on the grid filter and the features that are there. Okay, so if you have some time, you may want to look at that first, those videos before this one. But if you choose not to do that, we'll just fire ahead here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just highlight these. These are the different, this is a master detail style grid, and those are the elements that we can modify the data for. So if I select the edit button and then select company highlights, you're going to see here that we could modify all those if we wanted to. Okay, now back to the filter. By default, the filter has the same identical elements that you can then use to filter any row of data in the data table associated with this back in the database. Now, this grid filter was generated by default, and what I want to show you now is how to minimize the number of elements, because obviously you don't want to have a situation where you feel that your operators feel the need to have to populate several of these elements when they do a filter. So it's better just to take a little bit of time and thought and then just minimize the number of elements that are there. Okay, so you can see the snaps, probably a good thing to keep. Snap feed type, yeah, this looks like it might be important. I have another video that talks about snap feed types. Some of these other general characteristics about feeds in general, I'm sure you're not going to need to filter on. So let's go back to our code generator, and we're going to start eliminating some things here. Okay, the rotation effect, no, we don't want that. Rotation type, no. Smooth scroll speed, no. Snap feed name and description, yes, because that gives you a, if you can think of something that might apply, then you can usually type it in and start filtering and get close to what you're looking for. Refresh interval, yeah, that's a possibility. If you've got a refresh interval that you want to change and you have a lot of snaps, then you can filter on that and find what you're looking for pretty quick. XML content file, probably not. What that does is if the database connection is lost, then it'll pull from an XML file that gets saved with the latest data. Okay, so we'll go back to here. Okay, so we can see what it looks like now. And we'll go to our code generator. And I'm going to go ahead and click on filter form, filter code, and I'll do that again. I'm going to do an F5 on this, so you can see the snap feed filter code and form were just created. Now I can set this up a little bit better. I can move this over a little bit. go ahead and do that. And take this back up, scoot this over a little bit, and do this again for you. So click filter form, filter code, do a refresh, and there they are. Now I can also, the business layer code and the custom JavaScript code, they'll also get output to this directory, and there they are. Those actually get moved to a different directory, but I cover that in a different video as well. The snap form code for the content for the help bar, you can see the file there and file there. Okay, now I can create those on the fly. Go back to this, and there they are at the top, and they just got created. So the question is, that's nice. We create all this code. Is it any good? Will it compile and do what we want it to do? So I'm going to go back to the snap feed form, and as you know, with .NET, it'll recompile on the fly. So watch this grid filter here. You can see compiled without errors, and there's our new grid filter. Now, it works right out of the box, as I'd mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and deselect the start date. Make sure we grab some things. Type in com, and you can see that should grab a few snap feeds. And there they are. And as you can see, the command and data framework works perfectly. So, how about the code? Okay, we can go into Visual Studio, and it's complaining because it wants to reload the new code. So I'm just going to say yes and yes. Okay. This is the snap filter code behind. There's so you go to, yeah. There's there was about 300 lines of code, but after regenerating it and decreasing the number of snap feeds, you can see it went down. The form side, go down the bottom, we're looking at about 340 lines of code, so that was sitting at closer to 500 before. The content snap feeds, okay, it's dynamically generated, but bottom line is that you don't have to write that code. And then the way that these different components are dynamically loaded, and so looking at the code behind in the snap feed, now if you can, this is dynamically generated as well, and there's hundreds and hundreds of lines of code that is intelligently added. You can see some of the properties related to the snaps. And so these are added dynamically to a panel in the snap feed form page, and it's ready to roll. So you get a little bit of a flavor for the code that's there and what's dynamically generated, and it works perfectly. Now, even though I regenerated the content, you can see that it still pulls in the content just fine. That was there before, and then the reason is that if you look at this, the snap feed itself is actually loading it. Okay, so at any rate, that hopefully gives you a little bit of flavor for that. This is the code generator is patent pending, and it's a big part of what makes this entire application possible, because I don't have to write hundreds and hundreds of lines of code for every new form and capability. I just go in, select the table, select what I want to work with out of the table, click a couple buttons, and all the code is there. Well, I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you can also take a look at some of the other ones on the site when you have time. Thanks.